evening, welcome to Film Forum, Atlanta's best film talk show. We're down here for another exciting half hour to tell you about movies. I'm Steve Markos. With me always, Aron Siegel.
How you doing tonight,
I'm doing all right. I know, Aron, that you just came from a movie, The Chase. We're not reviewing that tonight, but that's coming out Friday. How was that? A little quick review.
No, I'm not going to tell you about it right now.
Tell us
no,
anything.
I'm not going to tell you anything about it.
Like, just give us a story.
No, you're going to have to tune in next week.
Oh, golly. Well, I thought we'd have a little bit of something here to talk about. Excuse me there.
I'm not going to tell you about it. I absolutely refuse to tell you about it.
What do we have? We got a couple movies tonight. Then what do we have?
What do we have? We've got Greedy, the new Michael J. Fox film, and we've also got Sugar Hill, the new Wesley Snipes film.
All right, that's great. A little ventriloquism there.
Am I going to do this now too?
Nah, we'll get it straight one of these days. Anyway, we also have our Critics' Choice this week. It'll be money movies because of Greedy coming out, and then we'll probably talk about something coming up in Hollywood or something like that.
Yes, our guest is very, very late, so if you have any film experience, we are a live show, so you might want to come on down. We've got about 15 to 20 minutes to get here.
He's probably stuck in traffic,
probably.
But if he doesn't show up, we'll think of something. Anyway, we might as well get on with what we're going to review first. What do you want to start with?
I'll start with Greedy.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, Kirk Douglas plays Uncle Joe McTeague, and he's got a family that flatters him and fawns over him and grovels at his feet and just tries to get them to be written into his will because he has millions and millions of dollars. And the family realizes that Uncle Joe has taken on a new, very attractive nurse. And if the family is afraid that Uncle Joe might just leave all of his money to this attractive nurse. So what they do is they research and they go out and they find Uncle Joe's long-lost nephew, Danny McTeague, played by Michael J. Fox. And Danny's mission is to try to convince Uncle Joe not to leave his money to this nurse, instead to leave it to the family. What we've got here now is a scene from Greedy. It's a Jonathan Lynn film. It's the same director that did My Cousin Vinny. And here's the scene with Michael J. Fox and Kirk Douglas.
Come in the pool.
Is that salt water?
Yeah, helps me float. Belt's not enough. I can't use my legs. I tell you what, I'll wrestle you for the money.
What?
I'll wrestle you. You win, I'll give you $300,000. If I win, you owe me nothing. Come on, out here in the deep end. Show that girlfriend of yours what you're made of.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm gonna beat up an elderly crippled man, and she's gonna say, "My, what a catch!"
Can your feet touch?
No.
Good.
Danny?
Come on, bowler.
Oh, come on, Jojo. That's enough. Let's him up.
Okay, that's a scene from Greedy, which opens up this Friday at all the major theaters, all your favorite theaters, and theaters you don't like too. It's from Universal Pictures. As I said, it's directed by Jonathan Lynn. He brought us My Cousin Vinny.
Pretty decent comedy.
It's got an all-star cast. It's got Olivia Dabeau. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. She's the nurse, the very attractive nurse that you saw in that scene. And we've also got Nancy Travis in this film, who plays Michael J. Fox's girlfriend. We also got appearances by Phil Hartman as one of the relatives, and Ed Begley Jr. You might remember him. He's done a lot of different stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully they can hear me now. They informed me my microphone wasn't working to start with, so now they can hear me. I thought Greedy was a great movie, and I'll tell you what, if you don't think it's a great movie, I think you have to agree that it's the best Michael J. Fox film he's done in a long time.
Since Doc Hollywood.
Yeah, I'd say it's one of my favorite 3 or 4 films. It's funny, it has a great script, and I've got to ask you if this movie reminded you of another film.
It did, but I really can't say because it'll give it away.
No, what film did it remind you of?
All right, if you want me to ruin it for everyone else in here, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, you got it too, as well as me. I don't think that ruins it. Yeah, this is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, another reworking of that. It's not a fantasy like really Willy Wonka, but it does have a story of a man who has a lot of riches, and he's searching for the one good-hearted person left in the world to give away his riches. And Willy Wonka, if you remember, he had a contest to find the one child who was untouched by corruption to give his factory to. Here, Uncle Joe has millions. He plays all these tricks on his relatives, trying to see who's really greedy and who's not.
That's true.
Same type of premise there. I really like that a lot.
I just want to mention something else. We are a call-in show, and if you were able to catch one of the sneak previews of Greedy, please feel free to call in. Let's go ahead and take this phone call that we've got.
Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, caller.
I'm kind of upset, that you blew that movie for me and told me it was.
Oh, it was like Willy Wonka?
Willy Wonka movie.
Well,
I mean, those are the breaks, okay? And we won't tell you the secret of the crying game, though. So,
appreciate that.
Have you seen Greedy yet? I guess you haven't seen it yet.
No.
Huh?
Haven't seen it yet.
Believe me, no one is like Willy Wonka doesn't tell you a thing about the movie.
Just pulling your leg, guys. Keep it up.
All right,
thanks.
But anyway, the one thing I did like about Greedy is its truthfulness, its insight into the human character. On the one hand, you have these greedy relatives, sleazeballs. On the other hand, you have Danny
fawning
Matig.
and groveling above him. They've named their kids. I mean, his name is Joe, and they've named their kids
Joseph and Joseline.
Josephus, whatever.
Yeah. They're all really like kissing his butt there. And then you have Danny Matig, his long-lost relative. And
Who's
Danny,
a bowler.
Yeah, and Danny claims that he'll never be touched by greed. But, as soon as he realizes he's up for some of Uncle Joe's millions, he becomes greedy as well. And it just goes you to show that no matter how honest
does he really
you are.
become greedy, or does he just get used to having all of this,
No,
this wealth around
I
him?
think he becomes greedy.
He gets used to the good life, I think.
Yeah,
He's
that's what I'm
eating chicken
saying.
Kiev.
No matter how honest you are, no matter how moral you are, no matter how much you claim that greed will not get to you, when the money bug hits you, when you're staring millions of dollars in the face, your story changes. You hear about these people winning the lottery and they say they won't change. Well, I guarantee you, give them a little while and they will.
It's also a study in human nature. It's very similar to another film called The Magic Christian. This had Peter Sellers, and it also had Ringo Starr in it. And this was a film to find out to what extreme, what kind of price people had, what kind of limits they'd have, what their price would be to do something. Because I remember, like, one of the closing scenes of this film, there's a swimming pool, and they fill it with urine, they fill it with feces, they fill it with blood, they fill it with just all of this disgusting stuff. And then they fill it with $1 million. And the question there is to find out how many of these people are actually going to get into the pool to get the money.
Yeah. Well, this doesn't have that kind of gross stuff, but it's a good film. The thing I liked about it, once you've realized that everyone is greedy, I believe everybody was greedy, is that you start wondering who you would want to have the money now. And then you start second-guessing yourself. As the end comes closer and closer, it leads you to believe that the worst-case scenario is going to happen. You're saying to yourself, it can't end like this. As it gets closer and closer, you begin to panic as you realize that it just might end like that. And I'm not going to tell you what happens, but go and see it. It has a great ending. It will get you panicking. And pretty good movie, some great performances again.
A lot of twists and a lot of different different little tricks and stuff. It's a really fun film.
Yeah, and like I said,
it's one of the most fun films that I've seen this year.
The relatives, they're fun to hate. Joe Matig's good. Kirk Douglas gives a good performance as Uncle Joe. And if this film came out later in the year, he'd probably get a Best Supporting Actor nomination.
That's probably
but
true.
As we all know, movies that come out before summer are completely ignored. It reminded me of a film that came out early last year, Rich in Love, where Albert Finney gave such a great performance. Definitely Oscar-worthy. And by the time the nominations are announced a year later, it's all forgotten. That'll probably happen with Kirk Douglas as well in this film. I'm gonna go with.
And this film is really good as far as Michael J. Fox's performance. I mean, considering For Love or Money, I liked the film. I didn't get the impression that a lot of people liked this film, but I liked For Love or Money.
I didn't.
And Life with Mikey, which was his film right before that. So,
all right. Well, I'm gonna go with 3.5 stars on this film.
I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars as well.
All right. So I definitely check that one. It'll be coming out this Friday at the theater near you.
And it's theaters you don't like too.
The theater's not near you. All right. Anyway, let's get on with our second film. This came out last Friday. It's called Sugar Hill. Wesley Snipes and Michael Wright star as Romello and Ray Scuggs, two boys who grew up to be drug lords despite the fact that they saw their mother OD and watched as their father was nearly beaten to death as a result of his involvement in the drug world. Now they've made their way to the top, and suddenly Romello wants to go straight. However, Ray won't let him. He tells his brother that there's only one life for guys like them, and that's a life of crime. Let's take a look at a scene from Sugar Hill, which came out last Friday.
Now when people look at me, they see success. You know who I owe that to? This man. Tony O'Donnell. Gussie. Gus put you guys on like you was family. And we are family.
Look, Lolly, is there a point to all of this?
I'm trying to tell you to be open.
Look, Gus, nobody's rocking anymore.
Somebody's rocking, okay? I'm bringing my own clientele, Romello. There's no need for conflict. All I need you to do is just cut me out a little space to operate. I explained all this to Ray.
No, wait. Now, you didn't tell me like that. Romy, it's come up. It can work. And we think it's good for everybody.
What do you think? Well, I think it's going to be conflict.
Romy, it's like Pop says, man. It's like it's an apple and orange thing.
Harry will take care of the precinct.
Let us think about it a little while. And we'll get back, all right?
All right, and that Sugar Hill came out last week with Wesley Snipes and Michael Wright. Now, what movie did this remind you of, Aaron?
The Godfather.
Nah, wrong.
No, it reminded me of The Godfather, but it had Michael Wright as the drug addict brother again. And this guy must get typecast because he was in The Principal with Jim Belushi as a drug dealer, and he was also in The Five Heartbeats as a drug addict, and he's in this film as a drug addict. I wonder if this guy has actually done a film besides playing a drug addict.
Maybe he's a drug addict.
I met him, and he's a very nice guy. I was also wondering, I read somewhere that Wesley Snipes had the option to do this film to do the film as the drug addict brother, the older brother, but he chose the
Trying to keep that image
more
clean. As a
subdued.
good drug dealer. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, let me tell you what movie this reminded me of. Number one, last year we had Unforgiven. Then we had Carlito's Way. And now we have Sugar Hill.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
the third movie to come out about a gangster or a gunman who's trying to go straight and gets drawn back into a life of crime.
See, you got The Godfather Part 3. You know, Al Pacino's trying to get out of it. See?
Yeah. All right, so maybe that as well.
Movies,
Well, The Godfather 3 was so boring, I don't remember it. But anyway, I wonder, well, it was boring, and that brings me up to this point. When will Hollywood realize that movies about gangsters and gunmen trying to avoid violence are boring films, particularly when the commercials on TV mislead you to believe that you're going to an action-packed shootout? Unforgiven, like I said, all the action in Unforgiven is in the commercial. You think it's going to be a regular Clint Eastwood film. Carlito's Way, you thought it was going to be another Scarface. I think people go to this film looking for another New Jack City. It's not. It's a lot of philosophical babble about why a life of crime doesn't pay. And though I don't need violence and shootouts to enjoy a film, when I'm led to believe I'm going to an action movie, that's what I expect. If I knew this was more of a slow-paced movie about guys fighting with their inner self, about getting out of crime, I would have enjoyed it more. But the funny thing is that the filmmakers and the producers and the advertising agents know that they got to show the action-packed advertisements to get people in the seats, because no one would go to a movie that was slow-paced.
Now, I saw some kids in this film.
Oh, in the film or in the theater?
In the theater.
Oh yeah, there were plenty of 4- and 5-year-olds in the theater I went to.
It's unbelievable. It's like, why would anybody take their children to an R-rated film where there are drugs and there's vulgar language, there's profane language, there's profanity? Why would anybody want to take their kids to this?
Well, at least the kids, when I was there this time, the 4- and 5-year-olds were well behaved. They only screamed out once or twice, and the babies that the parents brought only cried once or twice. So.
Well, these kids were very restless. I mean, they had on like their, what's the new kind of shoe that's got the lights on it that
I don't have any idea.
glows in the dark? So every time I heard a noise, I'd like turn around and I'd see all these flashing lights in the back.
So they're freaking out. Yeah, at one scene they were there, Romello and his sidekick were shooting one of the bad guys, which was really a good guy, and the little kids thought that was the funniest thing ever. They were laughing every time he shot the guy and he yelled out. So no wonder the kids grow up to be screw-ups these days. But getting back to the film here, I think it's ironic that all three of these movies, Unforgiven, Carlito's Way, end in these big shootouts, which goes to show.
So you're giving away the ending again.
They all have.
We're going to get a caller is going to call back and tell us we.
They all have these big shootouts, and goes to show you that the producers realize they can't have an anti-crime message without throwing in a bunch of crime because nobody would go to see it. So it kind of defeats the purpose of the film. Why have an hour and a half of boring when it's going to end up all the violent crime anyway? You might as well make it an action-packed no-brainer to begin with.
The one thing that it kept reminding me of is like some of those 50s and 60s films with the musical score, because it's like saxes and muted trumpets and stuff.
Well,
That's another reason it reminded me of The
This
Godfather.
is a beautiful movie, I'll tell you that for sure. If I hadn't known better, I would have thought Ridley Scott or even Spike Lee had directed this movie. Beautiful photography, imaginative lighting, a wonderful use of colors. If you know the graveyard scene, he was at the grave, his father or mother's grave. Beautiful colors were in that film.
Yeah, but I really don't appreciate the blood and stuff.
Well, most people, that goes over their head. With me, an artistic film is good for at least a star. All right, but it goes over most people's heads. Wonderful movie. I like this better than Unforgiven of that. It did have more action. It had more of an emotional impact. There were some brutal scenes. There were some scenes of people ODing that really affected us. And
I was very disturbed by the ODing scenes.
A movie that affects you is a good film, whether it's boring or not, and this is a slow-paced film.
All right, let's take the phone call we've
Go ahead,
got.
caller, you're on the air.
Hello, caller. Are you there? Caller?
Hello?
There you go.
Yeah. You're on the air?
Hello?
I can't hear you.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. What's your question?
Wait a minute.
They can't hear us.
Oh, no.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay.
All right, what's your question?
First of all, I want to tell you guys you've got a wonderful show. I watch you every week.
Oh, we're
Well,
glad.
thank you very much.
And second of all, I was listening to your reviews there, and you were talking about how the the movies Greedy and Sugar Hill were like other movies.
Yes.
Right.
I was just wondering if y'all feel that Hollywood is out of fresh ideas now because they keep doing sequels and remakes of old movies.
Absolutely.
Well, what they're not as much out of ideas as movies nowadays. Just for a film of people talking, probably runs over $20 million. And when they're putting all this money into films, and this is no longer an artistic medium. Movies in Hollywood is a business system. If you're putting $30-40 million into a film, you want to guarantee that you're not going to lose money. Well, you go back and you make a Beverly Hillbillies or you make a Flintstones because you know people are going to go to see it. You make a movie based on a best-selling book like The Firm because you know you've got millions of people that are going to go see it automatically. You're going to break even, at least, when you go back and make these remakes. Foreign films like The Point of No Return was remade off of La Femme Nikita. Big hit. They want to put American stars in it. They realize people will go to see it. They went and saw it over in France. They'll see it here. They're really just hedging their bets, so to speak.
They're playing it safe is what they're doing.
Playing it safe by taking a proven formula, a proven story, remaking
a proven
it.
story. Well, also, a lot of these films, we're comparing them to other films because they're very similar.
Yeah. But these aren't remakes. Sugar Hill and Greedy are not remakes, and these are good ideas. They're fresh ideas.
They're fresh ideas.
Greedy's
but they're
more
similar
fresh
to
than-
other films.
Yeah.
They're similar to other films because, I mean, it's very difficult not to make a film these days. It doesn't have some sort of other qualities similar to other films.
When you compare a movie to another film, that gives people in the audience an idea of whether or not they want to see it. They may have hated Unforgiven, and they thought it was boring, so they probably won't go see Sugar Hill. But if we say it was like Unforgiven and Carlito's Way, and people say, hey, that was one of my favorite movies, I probably like this as well. Sugar Hill is a good movie, as long as you realize that it's not another New Jack City. You go into it realizing there's some slow points, and then you can appreciate the fact that it's actually a pretty decent movie. Good acting, beautiful film to look at.
Now, if I remember correctly, Wesley Snipes was in New Jack City, wasn't
Yes.
he? And he played the drug addict in that.
Yeah, he was the drug overlord, same type of role.
Well, y'all do a good job reviewing these films. I just want you to know that.
Thank you very
thanks.
much. What do you intend on seeing this weekend?
Do what now?
You going to go see a film this weekend?
Yeah.
What are you going to go see?
I might go see. When does Grady start?
So
This
it's
Friday.
I'll go see Grady.
All right, that's a good one.
And I might call you next week.
All righty.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
caller.
Well, anyway, like I said, out of those three, I like Sugar Hill the best. I'm going to go with 2.5 stars. That's 1.5 stars for entertainment value, 1 star for being artistic.
I'm just going to give it 2.5 stars, and I'm not even going to bother trying and explain why I'm giving it 2.5 stars.
But it works out. That's a little bit above average. Comes out this week. And now let's check Atlanta's top 10 films.
These are the films that you paid money to see this weekend, so don't blame us for their chart positions. At number 10 this week is Mrs. Doubtfire. It falls from number 8, 15th week in the top 10. At number 9 this week is My Father the Hero. with Gerard Depardieu and Katherine Heigl. It rises up 1 spot to number 9. At number 8 this week, dropping 3 spots to land at number 8, is My Girl Part 2.
All right, that is not in the top 10 nationally because it's replaced by Schindler's List. Or not replaced, but Schindler's List is in there anyway.
Okay. At number 7 this week is Reality Bites. It falls from number 6 to land at number 7. This is Winona Ryder's film, and it's also got Ethan Hawke in it. It's pretty good. At number 6 this week, dropping out of the top 5 for the first time since its release, is Walt Disney's Blank Check, which is, you know, you take
Kids
your
movie.
take your kids.
Go to the mall, take your kids.
It's got Miguel
drop 'em off
Ferrer
at
in
the
it, and it's
then
for
go
the
watch.
kids.
Yeah, go shopping while they go watch.
Don't waste your time in it. Number 5 this week is Nick Nolte and Shaquille O'Neal in Blue Chips. Takes the biggest plunge this week. Was number 1 to number 5.
After we gave it a mediocre review, you see people listen to us on the film forum.
Absolutely. Number 4 this week is Ace Ventura, Pet Detective with Living Color's Jim Carrey. Still in the top 5 after 4 weeks. And this is the number 1 film nationally, actually.
Yeah.
It's
No. Well, On Deadly Ground is number 1 nationally.
Well, I was told by our sources that Ace Ventura was.
Right.
Really?
The paper says it was. Anyway.
Well, the paper can be wrong.
All right.
Anyway, number 3 this week is On Deadly Ground. Falls from number 2. It's got Steven Seagal in the film. This is another Steven Seagal film. Number 2 this week is 8 Seconds with Luke Perry and Stephen Baldwin.
That's
They've
amazing.
used at number 2.
Because it's number 9 nationally. So
Well, we've got a lot of country western type people in this city.
Yeah.
People that like the rodeo. And the number 1 film this week is Wesley Snipes and Michael Wright in Sugar Hill.
All
Your
right.
number 1 film for this week.
And no longer in the top 10, Philadelphia lasted 7 weeks. It got as high as number 1. And The Getaway, which only lasted 2 weeks, it got as high as number 3. That was a big disappointment there. I thought that would do much better. But anyway, let's get on with our Critics' Choice. Each week we present Critics' Choice, which is we pick a topic and we tell you our 3 favorite films. Why do we do this? Because for all you video movie fans that go to the video store and stand around for a half hour and don't know what to get because you've seen all the new releases, well, here's some older films that you might want to check out if you haven't already seen. This week, money movies, getting it, having it, spending it. Aaron, what are your favorite 3?
Well, this one isn't even available at the video store yet. I liked it so much I put it in my top 3. It's Greedy. Michael J. Fox, Kirk Douglas, Ed Begley Jr., and Phil Hartman. We just reviewed it a little while ago. It seems pointless to go over it again. It opens this Friday. My number 2 film came out in 1985. It's called Brewster's Millions. It stars Richard Pryor and John Candy. It's directed by Walter Hill. It's a story, and it's remade from a 1945 film. Richard Pryor plays Brewster, who must spend $30 million in 30 days in order to inherit $300 million. And he can't tell anyone why he's spending all of this money. The challenge is that if he doesn't spend the money, it's going to revert back to the bank. It's a dead uncle that wants him to spend all of this money. My number 1 film came out in 1981, Arthur, directed by Steve Gordon, stars Dudley Moore and Denholm Elliott. It's a wonderful film. Oh, excuse me, John Gielgud. I was confusing my movies here. John Gielgud. It's a wonderful film where Arthur is a millionaire who is going to be disinherited if he doesn't settle down and marry a friend of the family, marry into wealth, more wealth. And he falls in love with Liza Minnelli and ends up wanting to marry her. And he tries to cancel his wedding plans, and him being an alcoholic and trying to reform everything else. Very funny film, lots of laughs. It's available at your video store.
All right. My third favorite money movie came out in 1983. It's called Risky Business, stars Tom Cruise and Rebecca De Mornay. Spurred on by his high school buddy, the ultra-conservative teenager Joel Goodson decides to live on the razor's edge and party for once in his life while his parents go out of town. His odyssey begins when he meets a high-priced call girl named Lana, and from that point on, nothing goes right. Lana weasels her way into his house after she has trouble with her pimp, and when he watches his father's Porsche roll down a hill and into Lake Michigan, he's forced to turn his home into a brothel so that he can raise money to help cover the repairs. Now, Tom Cruise is perfect as the polite and gullible teenager who's more worried about getting into college than he is about having any fun, while Rebecca De Mornay sizzles as the prostitute. Got to get that word out there. You know, that's a dirty word, prostitute, right? who teaches Joel, excuse me, Joel a few things about manhood. Anyway, furthermore, director and writer Phil Brickman takes what could potentially have become just another run-of-the-mill teen exploitation flick and turns it into a very artistic movie about its journey into adolescent fantasy that takes a few turns for the worse. This was Rebecca De Mornay's second feature film and Tom Cruise's first hit movie.
And it also has a soundtrack by Tangerine Dream.
Oh, yeah, great soundtrack. My second favorite movie is Arthur, which Aaron's first favorite movie came out in 1981. Stars Dudley Moore and Liza Minnelli. Arthur Bach is a drunken millionaire who stands to be cut off from his inheritance because he doesn't marry Susan. Same thing Aaron said. This was the number one hit comedy of 1981 because it brings to life a number of fantasies. We all can't be millionaires, so we love to watch movies about millionaires who at least like to act like ordinary guys instead of rich snobs. Arthur's just that. He's a bum with money. He does whatever he wants, regardless of the fact that it might make some of his peers angry. It's also a love story about a poor girl and a rich guy, and movie fans seem to like that kind of romantic pairing. Dudley Moore received an Oscar nomination as Arthur, and John Gielgud won supporting actor for his role as Hobson, Arthur's sarcastic butler. The film also was nominated for Best Screenplay and won for Best Song, Arthur's Theme. And my favorite money movie is Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Came out in 1988, stars Steve Martin and Michael Caine. Michael Caine plays Lawrence Jameson, a high society con man who squeezes millions out of unsuspecting rich ladies. However, his gig is disrupted when small-time con artist Freddie Benson moves in on his turf, Beaumont-sur-Mer on the Riviera. Obviously, the town's not big enough for them both, and after an attempt to work together has failed, Jameson makes a bet with Benson. First one to get $50,000 out of Soap Queen Janet Colgate wins. The loser has to leave town. This movie works brilliantly as a con man movie and as a comedy. Steve Martin and Michael Caine pull off their comedy routine as deftly as Abbott and Costello ever did. And this movie will have you laughing so hard that you actually become frustrated because the situation starts snowballing. You can't laugh any harder. I want to just hit something to relieve the comic tension. I wanted to laugh so hard. All I could do is grit my teeth and slap my leg and wonder what in the world could happen next. Those are the three
Steve,
films.
Do you know that Dirty Rotten Scoundrels was remade from Bedtime Story with Marlon Brando and David Niven?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take this phone call, and then we're going to be wrapping it up.
Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, caller.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say to the guy on the left.
Which one?
Yeah, you. You. You gave a real nice critique about House Party 3. Because I saw a repeat of a show you did.
Yeah.
And I wanted to call them live, but it was pre-recorded, pre-taped rather. And I want to say I'm a 32-year-old black male, and you would not be a racist about the little kids talking to that male lady.
Yeah,
that was
right.
horrible. I mean, and I know what you meant about the black community, because I listened to you. And as a human, you made a good point. And
I appreciate
I just want to let you know,
Yeah.
that in case other people think that it was racist, it wasn't. You made a very good critique about that, because little children should not be talking to a grown woman like that.
Well, little children shouldn't be in the theater, and I came out of that, and it looked like a Disney movie. There was at least half the crowd 6 and 7 years old, under, and younger.
Oh, the movie was horrible.
Yeah, well, it was bad too.
I mean, the movie was written in crayon.
Yeah,
You know, it was horrible. And did you see Ace Ventura?
Yeah, that was a good movie.
I saw that 10 times already.
That's a good movie for kids there.
Carrey
Well,
retarded.
older kids.
You know, I call Jim Carrey the Jerry Lewis on acid. The
All right.
1994 version.
He's
All
a
right.
trip. But they're
Thanks
telling us
very
to
much.
wrap up here. I appreciate the comment. Yes, parents, keep your kids away from R-rated films. And the same thing had happened in Sugar Hill when we alluded to some of the black parents taking their kids. That's what theater I was in.
Right. Keep your kids
And,
away
a
from
lot of small kids watching this. They shouldn't do that.
All right, that's all the time that we've got. Be with us next time on Film Forum, and we'll have 2 feature releases. We'll have a great Critics' Choice, and we'll have a special guest involved in the film industry. Probably the one that was supposed to be here tonight. He probably just get here out of traffic. See you next Tuesday.